Hello, I'm Matthew, I'm 18, and I'm here in Scotland to attempt the HT 550. So the HT 550 is 550 miles in the Scottish Highlands. It's got plenty of hiker biking and technical sections within that. It's all self-supported and you've got to do it as quick as you can. I think what's motivating me for the HT 550 challenge is something I've never done before, and I don't know how I stack up against other people doing these kind of challenges. So I think in my eyes it's a bit of a test to see where I stand and if it's kind of a discipline I want to push forward in the future. I think my ultimate goal for the HT 550 would be finishing in under 4 days, but I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how fit I am compared to these other fellas. So for this challenge I'll be using the Deviate Highlander II. It's got 145mm in the back and I'll be putting a 130mm fork on it. This challenge is self-supported, so I plan on having basically all the things I'll need as I start, and then along the way I'll be stocking up on food at supermarkets, at shops, at takeaway places or whatever. So the morning of the challenge, I don't think I was feeling too much. When I kind of set off on a challenge, I usually just kind of block out all thoughts and don't think of anything in a way. I just don't want to over-excite myself and also don't want to scare myself. So I like to just go in there with a blank canvas and just, kind of take it on as it comes.
How are you feeling?
Not that good, but I don't know. I wouldn't be feeling good anyway in a few hours, even if I was feeling good now, so it doesn't matter.
So you got 4 minutes to start. So is that pouch just full of sweets?
It's got sweets and then there's a power bank hiding away in there, charging my Garmin up. There we go. Sweet. Yeah, I think I was good to go once I got there. There wasn't any doubts about equipment or any doubts about the lead up to the challenge. Fort Augustus was the first stop and also one of the most important stops. And I'd been watching people's dots of past attempts of people who'd completed it in about 4 days. And they'd got to Fort Augustus at about the 11:30 mark, so they'd got there about 30 minutes before the shop shut, so I knew I had to get there within 12 hours. There's like so many bogs. There's like a bog section for like almost an hour.
Yeah. Were you hiker biking that or riding?
I was jogging, just pushing my bike.
Yeah.
I felt good on it, but then I got back on my bike and just had jelly legs and just couldn't move.
Yeah.
I think within that 12 hours, I only stopped once to swap out a charger that I snapped. I was on a descent and there's like all these water bars, I guess, made out of stone. And it was also wet. And I hit the water bar, which was slanted on a corner, and my wheel just like disappeared underneath me. Yeah, I snapped my Garmin charger. Which wasn't ideal, but yeah. It was off and on bogged for, I'd say, 6 hours of that journey, and then the other 6 hours was quite good sections of just pedaling along the flat. So yeah, it was a good mixture, but it was definitely tough. But yeah, little did I know I had a lot worse to come. I got to Fort Augustus like 2 hours earlier than I was expecting. I needed to make sure I fueled up once I got there, so I called ahead to a fish and chip shop and ordered some chips. I put the chips in a plastic bag and biked with those and ate them over the next couple hours. Yeah, that was just kind of because I needed to be efficient with the time I spent stopped, so I couldn't afford to stop and eat. I just needed to eat while I was moving. So after leaving Fort Augustus, I was heading into the hills again. I was getting savaged by a headwind, which then turned into a bit of a storm. and yeah, the pace slowed down heaps. I fought on till 2 a.m. Where I pulled up in a section of woods and set up camp. Last week, you guys feeling okay? And then kind of night hit, the weather came in, and I just got soaked. The wind hit, and yeah, I slowed down heaps. I was wet and cold, so I went to bed wet and cold, and I just didn't warm up. I put aside 4 hours of sleep. Yeah. Maybe sleep 30 minutes. Yeah. Chilled out for a few hours. And then woke up, got up 5:30, and yeah, it's still wet, and yeah, what's the time now? It's been wet for like 6 hours, and it's only just stopped. I got in a bad position with my feet. I lost some feeling on them, and I couldn't stand on them. As soon as I put any weight on them, they just like had sharp pain in them. So I got talcum powder, so I covered them in that powder and put some new socks on and in a plastic bag, and they feeling better now. Yeah, I've also been badly headwinds, so yeah. About 6 or 7 hours into day 2, found a hotel pub kind of setup, and yeah, I basically just sat down for a while and just shut off my mind and kind of, I guess, made a blank canvas and forgot about the morning that had just been, and yeah, that was kind of the starting point for the next section. I didn't feel good, but yeah, I felt a lot better than I had that morning. Yeah, it was fairly easy going. I was battling against a headwind the whole time, but I just lowered the cadence and yeah, and just kind of ticked away at it. And then that took me into the northern portion of the loop, which was, yeah, I think that was my first big battle. Just hit the northern portion of the loop. I heard it was tough, but I mean, that didn't quite sink in because that was, well, yeah, that was shit. That was not fun. It was just a bog, and like, there was a big downhill section in it, but you couldn't even bike down it. It was just like all these ledges and banks. You just had to step down all these like swampy bog bits, and then yeah, there was like knee-deep bogs for ages.
What kept you going? Like, what were you thinking?
Well, I would have been stuck there if I didn't keep going, so...
Just a case of having to, not wanting to?
Yeah, I guess so.
This whole thing's completely different than what you used to, isn't it?
I've done a few things like this, but like never spanned over multiple days.
How are you coping with the lack of sleep?
It comes in waves. Mm-hmm. Usually it's like, when it gets dark, it's going to hit me hard. Then I'm just going to have to be careful not falling asleep on the bike.
Yeah.
Like, biking up is fine, because like your body's working, but biking down, I've had a few close calls. I'm quite scared about the morning, because, I don't know, this morning, like the last morning was a big test of willpower. I've made it to the most northern portion, but all the dirt lies in this bit.
You mentioned that you'd like thrown off a few times as well. Is that just through like physical exertion or? Just
eating. Like, I can't afford to not eat. Yeah. Like, if I've got a time, I don't know, I use a mental cue for like each 10 minutes to eat. And yeah, I just don't want to eat, but I've got to. And I notice if I don't eat each 10 minutes that I just, yeah, you can feel it. But it's not fun eating. You've just got to stuff it in your mouth. Oh, fuck. I don't know if I can stand up. After that point, we had decided that I would meet Josh and Lewis just past Inverloch, and we'd all camp out together that night just for safety, just to make sure that I was doing okay and that I was keeping warm enough.
What happened yesterday then from when we last met, Matt?
I was feeling good.
Mhm.
And I wasn't. And then I ate a whole bunch of food. And then I couldn't keep the food down and I just kept being sick. And then I bonked hard because I just wasn't having any energy. And I was quite determined to keep going. And then I just bonked even harder. And then I was starting to fall asleep while I was biking, so which isn't ideal. I can fight against physical tiredness, but I can't fight against sleepy tiredness.
Mhm.
So yeah, caffeine pills to fight that off. But then 15 minutes after I had the pills, that's when I couldn't move anymore. So that sleep, I can't even imagine was asleep much at all, just because of the caffeine.
Yeah.
Which is stupid, but I don't know. You live and you learn. I pulled over and had maybe a 10-minute nap, and then I was just so cold, and then I got my bivvy out
Mhm.
and put some more jackets on. But yeah, I just needed a quick power nap to find the energy to even set up the bivvy.
And how was your body feeling at that point in the conditions that you were in?
Quite depleted. I was quite cold as well. It was quite windy. I had no shelter, there was no wind shelter at all, so it was just cold. See ya.
Yeah, I did.
See you, mate. Keep it up, Matt.
Once I met up with Josh and Lewis, yeah, I was definitely happy to see them again. I actually felt quite good, which, looking back on it all, I definitely wasn't good, but I think it definitely shows that my low points were quite low, and that my high points were also quite low, but they felt good somehow. So yeah, I was actually looking forward to that next section. I jumped onto the highway for 20-25 kilometers, which was, yeah, that was just an amazing feeling, just being able to actually pedal. And I still felt good at that point because I've been walking for the past 6 or so hours, that actually being able to get on the bike and spin the pedals, I was using what felt like new muscles. So yeah, I was pushing at a good pace. Yeah, after the highway section, I was back into the mountains and had another few climbs. They were mostly, I was mostly able to bike them all, minus a few bogs in between. But what was slowing me down along there was just a huge headwind. It was quite an open section beside a lock, so I was just getting hammered by the wind. And at some points it was just quicker to walk than actually bike. So yeah, that was a tough section, and it just felt like I wasn't making up any distance. The descent into Ullapool was, I'd say, the first descent I had that was actually, say, a mountain bike descent, something you'd want a mountain bike on. And yeah, I'd say that was one of the high points, which came immediately after quite a low point. I think it's just the fact that I was actually able to mountain bike, to do what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I got to Tesco about 54 hours into the entire journey, and that was the first time I'd basically been completely depleted of food and water, so it was quite an important stop off to make sure that I had all I needed. So yeah, I charged into the supermarket and filled up a basket with sweets, juice, more baby powder. Yeah, not too sure what else I got, but yeah, just filled myself up with as many carbs as I could. I actually ended up mapping how much time I spent on my foot, and I had 60 kilometers, just walking. I hiked up a big hill.
Yeah.
And then got to the top of it, and then had to walk down the other side because it was just, yeah, you just couldn't bite down it. So I was quite pissed. I'd kind of made up a mindset that I just had to get on with it, and that there's no other option. It was at this point where I think Lewis and Josh also felt that I'd come to life a bit more. I don't think I felt any better personally, but yeah, I must have bounced back slightly, and yeah, I guess it showed. Yeah, coming out of Ullapool, I had another highway section which was super nice again, but I was once again getting just attacked by the wind. But yeah, still a lot easier than the past sections. And then I hit one of the steepest climbs I've ever done. It was another hiker bike climb.
Like, that was so steep on the way up, and then got to the top, it was flat, and it was just bog. I couldn't even bike, and then the downhill was just bog, and it was just like stone slabs, and it was all wet, so I attempted to bike down it, and then I just washed out, hurt my knee, and then I just had to walk quite a few sections after that, just because I would have slid out again.
How's the knee feeling now? Is it?
It's quite sort of bend it, but I don't know. I know I'm tired, I'm just being a bit of a wimp, so I think I'm just going to go until my eyes shut themselves, basically, and then sleep until the sun comes up, and then go again. I like to get a couple hours past Puyu, but if it's like that section, then I'm going to be moving slowly, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But that took a lot longer than I thought it would. That was hard.
After that pass, I was posed with two options: either call it quits for the day or continue on into one of the most infamous sections of the whole course. I decided to take it on, as if I didn't, I would have had to wait at least 12 hours until I could then start again. The first pass was actually quite a good climb. I was able to pedal most of it, but I then got to the top of that hill and then made it over the saddle and just got hit by a huge headwind. So I put on another layer. In the midst of that, I put my gloves underneath my bag or my bike, something like that, and they just blew off in the wind. So after that, I was gloveless. And with that whole descent, my hands just kept getting colder and colder. And then since that point in time, they were completely numb, and then they stayed numb until ultimately I could get some shelter. Yeah, so I got to the bottom of that hill, and then I had about 20 kilometers of flat until I made it to the next pass I had to climb up. But there were just lots of puddles, and I couldn't tell the depth of any. Some of them I could bike over, and then others I'd just bike into, and then my bike would sink. I'd say I went over the bars at least between 20 to 30 times in that 20 kilometre section. I made it to another infamous section of the course, and I had about a 10 metre section of water that I had to make it over. And it actually ended up being fine. The water wasn't flowing that much, so yeah, it was quite daunting at the start of it, but it ended up being totally fine. And after that, I pulled over, changed my socks over, tucked up my feet, and yeah, was almost good to go again. But at the time I'd been stopped, the cold had sunk in, and yeah, I'd got the chills, and I just needed to keep moving. And by the time I hit that pass and started the climb, a storm had come in, and the wind was super violent, and also it was super wet. Wet enough to the point that where I was climbing up had just turned into a waterfall, and I was in no man's land. There was no way I could get to the bothy behind me. At that point I got in touch with Josh via my Garmin PLB, which yeah, I think ended up being a lifesaver, because he informed me that there was a bothy ahead, and I knew that was my only option. I just had to get there, and yeah, I flicked a switch and it kind of just turned into survival mode. Yeah, it wasn't about the challenge, and I just needed to survive that night.
It was a really wild night here last night. It was like winter.
It's now 7:42. I've still not had any response from Matt. It looks like his inReach has been disabled, and his last known location was roughly 5:30 at the bothy where I'm headed now. Just got to try and stay optimistic at this point. Hello Matt, do you read? Matt, are you there?
I woke up, I'd say it was about 9ish in the morning, to Josh yelling my name, and he'd come up into the mountains searching for me. I later found out that my Garmin had last pinged at, I think it was 5:30 in the morning, and that was basically the only communication I had since I was in the middle of nowhere. Josh and Lewis had started to become concerned about me, where I was, if I was moving, or just anything. They couldn't communicate with me.
What unfolded from the last time me, you and Lewis had a chat on the road?
So I had 2 climbers basically, kind of out the back in the middle of nowhere. After the first climb, the weather came in, hit hard.
I started to think that I wasn't actually that safe anymore. I was cold down to the core, but the wind was so violent that each time I put my bike on my back, I just got blown over. So,
and I had maybe the second biggest climb ahead of me of the whole thing, all hiker bike. So, I was kind of left with those 2 options: turn back or climb the mountain to get to this bothy here.
And about halfway down the descent, I hit a patch of signal, and my mum and dad had been following me along, and I guess had seen that I was moving quite slow at that point in time, and just sent me a message giving me, I guess, words of motivation to keep me going, and that hit me super hard. I don't think I've ever bawled my eyes out that much, so I think that meant a lot to me and kept me going. And got to the bothy, got out of the wind, and still in survival mode, I guess. Took all my wet clothes off. I had attempted to get some sleep, but that night just consisted of me staying awake, waking myself up by coughing up blood, and just violent shaking all night because I was so cold.
If this bothy wasn't here, it would have, I don't know what would have happened.
It just hit me that the challenge was pointless at that point in time. There was no meaning behind it, and it put me in quite a bad situation that could have cost me a lot. So I think at its core, the whole challenge is just a fight between determination and your own health, and it's working out how hard you can push those limits. And that night I genuinely found my limit. I couldn't have gone on any further. I've put myself against many challenges in the past, and I've never felt satisfied. I've always left those challenges, and I've felt like I've had more to give. But I think this is the first time where I've found that limit, and I've had no more to give.
Was it young naivety or genuine bad luck with the weather? Either way, the Actually 550 took me to my limits and beat me. Despite that, I can confidently say it's added the most to my skill set and the never-ending urge to push myself beyond my perceived capabilities until the next challenge.